Evening everybody, welcome to the English shooting live stream. As if you've been watching the previous 3 weeks, we've changed location again. Basically it is one hell of a feat to pack up everything that I need for the stream, to take it to the unit. And I was filming videos this week here, and basically couldn't be asked to pack down everything and reassemble it in the new unit. So it's just me this evening. No Paul, no Connors, which I'm sure some of you will be disappointed at. But I will try and make up for those two as much as I can. This isn't the end of doing them in the unit. Also, we're in a bit of state of flux in the new Magload location, as we're having all sorts done in preparation for the open day, which we will be talking about. It's this Sunday. We'll talk about it later on in the stream. And yeah, we've got stuff everywhere at the moment, trying to get it all finished. Has Callum been fired? No. Or are you saying, have I fired Connors from English Shooting? No. I will very much be there on Sunday. But yes, we've got a number of topics to discuss. But before all of that, make sure you make sure you subscribe if you're not already, and you're enjoying what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're watching, because there's only going to be more of it to come. We've been doing this for a long time now, so if you're not already subscribed, you should hit that subscribe button, but hit that like button as well. It really helps share the stream, get the channel out there, and hopefully bring more people into this wonderful sport of shooting that we're all big into. So Carl, hey sexy, that's not the first time we've been called that tonight. But thanks for joining us, Kyle, and Daniel as well. Thanks for joining. All of you guys, I'm grateful for you all joining. It's just particular names that do regularly attend. What is the tune? I don't know off the top of the head. I think it's might be How Hard You Try or something like that. It's off one of these sort of YouTube music subscription things that I'm part of. I think it might even be on Spotify, but I should really put it in the tag in the description of these streams. So yeah, number of topics. There's going to be actually one of the sort of subtopics, which was the subject of last night's video, which is this police national survey on firearms guidance in response to the Plymouth shooting. That's going to play a bigger role in this live stream than I thought, because literally 15 minutes before going live, I was made aware that the survey has been released, so it is out there now. So we will be going through that. I've put my, let's say, initial reaction sort of answers to the survey to be able to show you guys. They're not going to be set in stone, but anyway, the main topic for this evening, which we will still be covering in full, is the responsibility of the media. Now, this isn't just about shooting. This is in general and very topical at the moment in the UK, given the fuel shortage. Whilst many people, well, there's not actually a fuel shortage, but the fuel panic and all of the petrol stations running out of fuel, and yes, there could be many reasons for it, but ultimately it boils down to the media, and the cross section or the link to shooting is this well-known phenomenon of the more the media talk about mass shootings, the more the media talk about negative aspects of guns, the more it propagates. And unfortunately, the people that want to do very nasty things and horrible things, not just with guns, with any tool or instrument, are more often than not inspired by what the media puts out there. They are usually lonely, sad, deranged individuals that really only aspire to just be noticed. And I think the Plymouth shooting, the person responsible for that, is a clear-cut example of the stereotypical person that goes out and does these sort of things. So what they are crying out for is attention, is to be noticed, and we've all seen it with shootings in the US, in the UK, across the world, that these people are almost put up on a pedestal. There is 24/7 coverage. Their name is mentioned multiple times in every newspaper, on every news channel across the world, and it gives them instant infamy. And that is exactly what they are after every single time. And the more that these sad, lonely individual types see the attention, they see these names effectively set in stone forevermore, the more it's going to appeal to them. And you get these copycat articles, and I will be showing a bit from Wiki. I love me a bit of Wiki referencing about that as well. And we've seen the damage more recently with this fuel crisis in the UK, of how the media can quite irresponsibly cause mass pandemonium, just mass mania, if they publish the wrong thing. And whilst there are guidelines, and whilst there are various rules that the media need to abide by, they're not enforced, and the punishments are never severe enough to ever put them off putting out a good story. And I experienced this firsthand with Sean O'Neill. There's various snippets of the interview I did with him where he was quite brazen about the fact, like, look, I'm a journalist, and you know, the term journalist can vary, and it has certainly in more recent years seemed to morph into different things. But he's like, look, I'm paid to make stories, and sometimes I need to go looking for those stories, not in terms of an investigational journalism, but he just needs to go and find something that they can go and fill some paper space on. And I think because of the slow news week they were having at that time, he ended up setting his sights on practical shooting and the UK PSA, and ended up finding the videos on this channel, and ended up making contact with me. And he said off camera, unfortunately, that he didn't really care. He had no sort of passion, or you know, he was indifferent to the whole shooting and practical shooting and the guns that we could own, and I actually quite well understood the processes involved and how stringent and how many hoops there are to jump through. And you know, he was just like, but look, you know, I'm paid to make the paper money by selling newspapers. That is my sole job. And you know, we got into this conversation a bit on video as well about, well, hang on a minute, don't you think you have a professional responsibility to make sure that what you are posting is actually newsworthy, that you're not just stirring something up that doesn't need to be stirred up? Because at the end of the day, your articles have reflected incredibly negatively, comparing practical shooting to the mass shooter out in New Zealand, and drawing all sorts of weird and wonderful connections between the two. And you know, you're potentially throwing our whole sport under the bus for what? Just because you managed to fill, you know, well, it was a front page thing, but you know, just so you can fill a few pages in a newspaper. Like, don't you think the whole integrity side of things, of you know, keeping yourself to a higher professional standard to report on things that are, you know, genuinely impactful to the public? You know, no one knows about practical shooting for the most part. You know, the general public, there's no issues from it. It doesn't affect anybody's lives from day to day. It was a fear-mongering article which could have had very serious effects for the organizations, the businesses involved in the sport, the people involved with the sport, so on and so forth. But he just looked up and said, I'm here to sell papers, and I'll do pretty much anything I need to be able to do that. On camera as well, I said, well, you know, you've been corrected now. I've shown you black and white where you are wrong. Are you going to retract that? And it's like, well, I'll only do a retraction if I'm told to. But, you know, by the powers that be, by, you know, his bosses, or, you know, a regulatory body or organization. So he's like, you're quite free to put in a complaint to, you know, the various organizations that deal with this. And he sort of laughed it off, because he knew that even if, you know, a couple of thousand shooters and gun owners actually put in their complaints, nothing was going to be done. It was never going to be enough people to actually end up on his desk. And what's the worst case that they do? They have to put in, you know, page 50 of the paper, sorry, we were slightly a bit wrong about this article 5 months ago. So the damage is done. They know what game they are playing. And it's very much the same with the fuel crisis at the moment, where the media has they've blown it out of all proportion. All of the people that I've spoken to filling up, you know, tanker drivers, people, you know, the staff, and reading various things online from various reputable, or as reputable as it can be online sources, that there's no fuel shortage. The reserves, the production is all at normal, the deliveries is all at normal, but the demand has absolutely skyrocketed. Why has, and that is what's causing the shortage. They're still getting the same amount of fuel, just people are buying more of it. Why is that? Well, because the media did a complete coverage for 2 days that the world was going to end, and no one's going to be able to do anything because no one's got fuel. So what does that do? Hour-long queues at the fuel pumps. Will the media get bollocked for that? Absolutely no. They've sold a shitload of papers. They've created a load of links, clicks, and people clicking onto their links. They're happy. They're getting their advertisement revenue. They're getting their papers sold. They don't really care what disasters they're causing in the background. There's been direct deaths because of this. There's been people that haven't been able to go and do their jobs, that are losing income because of their actions. And I think it's about time that this was cracked down upon. Now, I'm not saying that we need media. Absolutely, we need media. We need to be able to get news out there and show. Yes, 69 viewers, Carl. Giddy. Thank you very much. Appreciate the support as always. So yeah, we do need media. I just think it needs to be more tightly regulated. But then with the likes of YouTube and Twitter and all these other news outlets, and social media is a news outlet, where do you stop? Is it just the print papers? Is it the print papers and the websites of those print papers, or is it anybody that gives any sort of news reporting or journalistic practice? Would I be bound by the same rules as the papers? I don't necessarily disagree with that, because again, the more audience you have, the more people you are effectively influencing, the greater the responsibility. And that shouldn't just be left down to the influencer in terms of social media, or it shouldn't be left down to the paper to decide what the guidelines are, because you'd have a free-for-all. You need clear set out guidelines, rules, and they need to be enforced. And I think the media are getting away with it and causing, well, not a pleasant place to live overall. Again, the whole thing with COVID, no one will know whether it was all justified, all of the news reporting on it for many years to come. But it was just, we had 18 months of everyone's going to die. This is it. And yes, a lot of people have died. There have obviously been huge impacts from the whole pandemic, but overall, I think everything again has been blown out of proportion. Look at the panic buying we had because of COVID due to the media hysteria around it. So yeah, and when it comes back to guns, this is again having a huge effect on people. This is causing more people to be killed due to the copycat effect. And I'm going to bring up I did have it ready, and now it's there. Here we go. And I've talked about this before on the stream. Let me just bring that up for you guys. So this is the Wikipedia page on the Port Arthur massacre and mental illness and copycat effect. So Paul Mullen, a forensic psychiatrist with extensive involvement following the string of massacres in Australia and New Zealand, attributes both the Port Arthur massacre and some of the earlier massacres to the copycat effect. In this theory, the saturation media coverage provides both instruction and perverse incentives for dysfunctional individuals to imitate previous crimes. And this is something I was talking about, the perverse incentives in terms of, like, as they see it, eternal glories, having their name set in stone. But this is also another element, the instruction. The more detailed breakdown you give of one of these horrific events, the more somebody can learn from it, the more that not only can they copy it, but they can take it as a guideline of this is what went well for them, this is what didn't go well for them. This is, if they'd have done this, they would have been able to harm more people. If they'd have done that, they wouldn't have. So it really does. You could go through all of the media articles of all the mass shootings, and it's basically a 101 guide. But yet the media continue to to put it out there and continue to do it with deadly consequences, and that is what we are dealing with here, with the fuel crisis, with the panic buying from COVID, from the copycat effects with mass shootings. We're talking, this isn't just something that's just a little bit like unpleasant. This is causing greater loss of life. And we always get into the discussion with about well, maybe we should ban all guns because in the UK, because there's 20 people a year that die from guns. It would be interesting to be able to extrapolate how many direct deaths or how many deaths are directly attributed to media articles, through hysteria generated, through the panic generated from media. And I'm not particularly a betting man, but if I were, I'd put a serious amount of money on the direct impact of the media effectively killing more people than guns in the UK. So if the main thing is about preservation of life from the gun control side, then again their time could be and potentially should be better spent on getting the media to finally understand and realize, well, perhaps they already do and they just don't give a shit because they're there to sell papers, they're there to make money, and they're going to do that at all costs. But at least try and implement more effective punishments and consequences to these media outlets when they get it wrong. I mean, this isn't a proper media outlet, but I remember the Boston bombing, so I'm sure most of you remember that. And there was the group on Reddit that ended up, they were going through various photos and this, that, and the other, and they thought that they had tracked down one of the bombers, and it was this poor innocent guy, and they ended up doxing him online, right? They put all of his details out, and it destroyed his life overnight. I don't know whether there was any consequence for the people that did that, but that's a very extreme sense, but that's what the media are effectively doing. They can jump the gun, as it were, and they tend to get away with it every single time. But yes, just let's have a look at what you guys are saying. That's sort of my thoughts on it. It does really ultimately piss me off, and that's why I've made it tonight's topic, that they get away with this. They throw us under the bus. They just generally turn the country into this panicked mess time and time again, and no one seems to be doing anything about it. Aren't most gun deaths self-inflicted? These are rough averages, so give or take, say 10% on these, but on average we have about 20 deaths from firearms a year in the UK. On average, only one or two of those is with a lawful firearm, and whilst it's only one or two over a period of time, the majority of those lawful firearm deaths, or deaths attributed to lawful guns, are self-inflicted. They are more often than not suicide. Obviously with Plymouth, the numbers, like this is what the media is going to do. Gun deaths have increased 50% in 1 year, right? Because some guy has gone out and shot, well, it's going to be more like 30%, but one guy has gone out there and shot 5 people with a lawfully owned gun. So instead of the average 20, we're going to get 25 deaths. So it's like 25% increase overall. But yeah, so it's that's the way the media would play it, and you're talking the difference of say 25 or 20. Now again, every death is important. We want to saying the difference between 20 and 25, but then look at deaths due to knives, knife crime, and like over 100 people in London, I think last year or the year before alone, in London alone, died from stabbings. So it's like, if you want to go and have an effect somewhere in terms of the preservation of life and to bring things into context, the difference between 20 and 25 firearm related deaths in the year is nothing compared to the hundreds that are dying from knives. So yeah, that's more often how it breaks down. But the other figure I can see, coming out there is, I mean, technically it was 6 people that died out of Plymouth, but I don't really count the guy that was responsible for it. The first time he pulled a trigger at the person, he lost his rights to be a person, as far as I'm concerned. But let's say 6. So on average, there's like 2 deaths attributed to lawfully owned firearms in the UK each year, and well, we've got 6 already from this. So let's say it's 8. I can really see the media going on this thing. Deaths due to lawfully held guns have risen 400% in 1 year. And this is, and they get away with it, right? Because it's not technically wrong, right? But that's where they skirt the line. No one's going to go there and, you're misleading the people, you're creating, mass panic and, just mass, uproar about lawfully owned firearms by using the numbers and statistics how you want to sell papers. So yeah, let's see what happens in the next 6 months, 12 months. If any of those papers come out with this, I will be sending them this live stream. Reddit. It's just another source. Where is the survey? So that's sort of, I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about this, but it is the overall consensus of it. I don't know what you guys, well, let's see what you guys are saying. Official big media is the problem, in your opinion? Absolutely. I think they are causing most of the problems we see on a day-to-day basis, or certainly exacerbate it. Our poor Australian cousins got sold down the river when they took their gun rights away, and the same thing happened here in the UK. Absolutely. Let's be honest, mainstream media is a perpetual social destabilization tool. The thing is, by who? I mean, if you're going to talk about a potential conspiracy like that, by who? Who's pulling the strings? Is it the Parliament, or is it the Rupert Murdochs of the world? And what do they have to gain by completely destabilizing civilization? Yes, all of these people have bunkers in New Zealand that they can go and live out the rest of their lives. But even if I was some like power crazed multi-billionaire, I would still want the world to sort of stay in one piece. I'd want to be able to travel freely and go and see things and do things, not live in a bunker. Well, maybe living in a bunker for the rest of our life with a range wouldn't be such a bad thing. But you get what I'm saying. Like that's what I think, where this whole conspiracy that there's these people pulling these strings to completely destabilize countries and planets, the world, is it sort of fall down on the point of, even if everybody that wasn't a billionaire was wiped off the face of the earth tomorrow, it's still not going to be a good place for the billionaires to be, because you need people to grow food, you need people to work sewage works, to work, sanitation and things like that. You still need people to be able to enjoy your billionaire lifestyle, fly the plane, I don't know, drive your car, all that sort of stuff. So I don't think that's necessarily true. I think maybe small blips of destabilization, if you're looking at the stock market, you're looking at currency, you're looking at things like that, you're looking country versus country, like a slight blip, people can make a hell of a lot of money. There's been all sorts of things around 9/11 that people saw what was going to happen. Obviously the largest financial building in the US demolished. They knew that was going to have an effect on the economy, that was going to have an effect on the stock market, certainly. So people made some very quick, sort of smart decisions and made a shitload of money overnight. And these things happen, but whether that's a conspiracy, whether that's all part of the plan, or whether that's just people that are being opportunistic of horrible events, I don't know. What would they do if they found out no guns were actually illegal? It would probably explode their little heads. I mean, this is the thing again with Sean O'Neill, getting the two guns side by side, the 1022 and the 1522, and he's, that one looks scary because it's black. You wouldn't say that about a person, would you? And again, but you know, on paper, these are identical guns. You know, they're both semi-automatic. They're both the same caliber. They function exactly the same. Just a few little aesthetical tweaks. And you know, so yeah, but that one's in a pink stock. It looks less sinister. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't change the function of the gun. Like, you know, what would you do? Ban all black guns? You know, yeah, because that's going to have an effect. One week of people having to limit their driving probably saved more lives than any gun laws. The thing is, I don't think people necessarily are limiting their driving. They're just spending more time at the fuel. Personally, I haven't actually struggled to get any fuel yet. I've chosen my time to go wisely. But yeah, the most I've had to wait at a petrol station is like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Plumber Jones, do you still have your FAC and SGC? If not, how come? I've heard you say something about not having them before. It's a long story. Long and the short of it, no, I don't currently have an FAC or SGC, but my application is in. No, there's no updates. Don't make me get the photo. Don't make me do it. No Connors. Some people will be sad. Some people will be extremely happy. Are you one of those extremely happy people by any chance? Oh yes, beer update. It's been a while since I've had a beer on stream. Actually, this is a Goose Island Midway Session IPA, bought very kindly by my beautiful fiance, who is very quietly reading a book. Part of the reason as well that I did the stream from home tonight, because if I do it at the unit, I don't get back from the unit until like 10:30, and whilst I'm chatting with you guys all night, at least you can look gazingly into my eyes occasionally. But she got a couple of beers for the stream, so perfect wife material. Can you hear what I'm saying? Good. I better be careful then. So yeah, let's Brad Wilkins just got me a 1522. Love it. Great choice. One of the best 2.2 semi-autos you can get. Connors look scary. This was one of the things, whilst I think I handled that whole thing very, very well, one of the things that Connors actually said I should have done 100% is when he looked up and he said, that gun looks sinister because it's black, is to grab Connors and put him next to me and goes, who looks more sinister out of, and really put him on the spot on it. Not that Connors is actually black. He's just slightly tanned. More tan than most. So yeah, try and play that card, because if you play that game with people, it doesn't work. You would lose your job very quickly if you started saying, people that are black are scary. That's not how things work. The color of something does not affect the function, does not affect how it performs, what it does. It is literally just the color. Both Sainsbury's and Essos were empty where I live. Not good. Ooh, that's the other way. I've got to drink that. Hang on. Don't the rich people who want to ban guns have armed security? Absolutely. That's one of the biggest sort of hypocritical points. Like President Biden. Yes, no one needs a gun, apart from me with the 50 people around me with guns, because obviously I'm far better than everyone else. I mean, this whole thing of the ones that have, the people with power, they're different to us, they're treated differently. I do laugh at that sometimes. Yes, the president should be treated differently than just us usual plebs. I'm not saying that they should get away with anything more than what we do, but they're doing one of the most important jobs out there. The Queen, of course, she's royalty. Whether you agree with royalty or not, that's another argument. But the way it is in today's world, they are inherently special people. That have, let's say, special privileges over the rest of us. But I won't get into that. No chill. He's gone over that. Oh, Daniel swinging the banhammer. Oh dear. What did he say? Well, why did you ban that? Please, can you do a video on why you lost your FAC? I don't think I've actually done like a full in-depth on it. I mean, the general gist is out there. There's enough information out there already on the channel. But anyway, I like to remain more positive and upbeat. And on that note, the police. So yes, the what I think will probably be the main subject for this evening is the National Firearms. What is it? What do they call it? The National Police Survey. So I did a video yesterday. If you haven't watched that, then well, it's a bit too late because you're going to probably have no context to this whatsoever. But check it out after the stream, or maybe pause this, go watch it, come back and carry on. You don't necessarily have to watch it live, and I'm sure there'll be like a 5 or 10 minute segment where you want to fast forward it anyway. So just helping you out. So there was this article from The Independent. This is what I did the whole video on that went out yesterday. So basically they were going to launch a survey aim. Why won't that go? Go away. No, okay, it won't. Basically, the police are going to release a survey that is going to ask the public, the general public, what they think about firearms guidance, firearms law, and the processes of getting a firearm and or shotgun certificate. As I'm sure you can imagine straight away, that is going to be fraught with danger in getting anything of any value whatsoever, because the majority of people in the UK have absolutely no idea that you can legally own a gun anyway. So how are they going to have any meaningful input on what they think, you know, because what they think is probably wrong to start with. And the survey has now been released. So, you know, basically long and short of it, this is in response to Plymouth. It's to get the general feeling of the public. What I said in the video yesterday, with it's actually what I think this is more about, is being a political thermometer to gauge how much blame the public is putting on the police for what happened in Plymouth, or how much they are putting it on our current legislation, guidance, or processes to get a shotgun or firearm certificate. You know, how good they are. Again, what is a general member of the public ever going to know about how to get a firearm in the UK? It's just absolutely bonkers. So this is the survey. So literally found out 10-15 minutes before going live this evening that this survey has come on. So I haven't had the best of opportunity to actually look through it and read through it and find all the laughable inaccuracies that are in it. But as you can see, Chair of the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, Mark Jones, said there has been heightened public concern following the recent shooting of 5 people in Plymouth. I'd like to take this opportunity to extend my sympathies for all those affected by the tragedies, that tragic incident, and indeed all the victims. This whole like heightened public concern, well, heightened public concern of what? Because I've been obviously watching the fallout from the Plymouth shooting very, very closely, and I've just spent like half an hour slagging off the media, but actually for once, fair play the media, because they saw through it straight away. They're like, well, hang on a minute, we have the strictest, most stringent firearms legislation in the world, or one of, and well, hang on a minute, why didn't that work? And it didn't take them very long. I remember before there was any sort of real announcement from the police, any real information, the media knew what was up. Like, they knew that something had gone on. Like, this guy had previously lost his certificates. There's this really interesting interview that the chief of police is giving, and it was like the morning after, and it was like the first press conference or first sort of public Q&A that he'd done with the media. And some of the questions that the media were asking, I just twigged. I was like, there's something going on behind this. Like, there is, like, the media don't 100% know yet, so they can't go out there and necessarily quote it, or really say something is true when it's not, even though they do that all the time. But the sort of questions, and you could tell the way the guy was answering it, like, he was like, shit. And it was just a default, like, you know, I'm unable to comment on that at this point. And as it transpired, this guy had been suspected of multiple assaults. His parents had cried out for help with his mental health. He had previously, 3 months after an alleged assault, had his certificates revoked, and then within 6 months was given them back for just completing a few anger management courses. And it seemed like the media knew this from pretty much the first day, and obviously it took a little longer for it to all transpire and all come out. And whilst the inquiry is still ongoing and will take a very long time, pretty much anybody with half a brain can see that the guidance was not followed here. That common sense and a logical approach to not giving this guy a license was just not followed. And there was this whole thing about, well, they were scared of being sued. And it was like, well, sorry, is that really how we're going to play it now? If I, what if I threaten Hampshire that I'm going to sue them if they don't give me my certificates? Do I think they're going to suddenly sign over my certificates? If they feel that somebody is a danger to the public, regardless of the threat of being sued or not, they need to stand by that ground. And it's quite obvious that there were certain failings there, and this was ultimately preventable. And I think ultimately the firearms licensing department, from what I know personally, I think the firearms licensing department at Plymouth is ultimately to blame. Ultimately, it's the guy that used the gun and pulled the trigger, right? But the reason we have our certificate system, the reason we have the stringent legislation that we do, is to prevent people like that from getting hold of the gun. So if the police are just not going to follow the guidance, what is the point? What is the point of having all this legislation and all these hoops that people have to jump through to get a certificate if, when there is a clear case that there's someone unsuitable, they're going to go, but it might sue us. That guy wasn't going to sue. He wasn't a member of BASC at the time. As far as I'm aware, was no members of organisation. This was a sad, lonely individual. He probably didn't have the first idea of how to take the police to court and to challenge a revocation. And it just sounded like more excuses. So anyway, that's the general state of it. And I think what most people see, and when the mainstream media are also taking that line, there were loads of articles slagging this guy off, slagging the department off, slagging the police off, saying basically, what were they thinking? Why did this guy have a gun? They have all the powers to have stopped him. They did stop him temporarily and then gave it back to him. A month later, he then goes and commits a mass shooting. So most members of the public, most media outlets, and certainly the majority of all shooters and firearms owners in the UK know where the problem is here. And this is where this survey seems a bit fishy, to sort of get the general feel of what, can they get away with further restrictions? Can they get away? Can they make it harder, more expensive? Can the police and firearms licensing benefit from this in any way, shape or form? Or are people still very much angry and pointing the finger at them? So yes, the heightened public concern. The concern of what? The concern that the firearms licensing department didn't do their job, didn't follow the procedure, and could have quite easily have prevented that guy from owning a gun, or heightened public concern about our firearms law. There was none of that whatsoever. Nobody, apart from Jill Marshall-Andrews and the Gun Control Network and a few other loonies, were calling for heightened legislation, for further restrictions, for further bans. Even the mainstream media for once weren't doing that. And yet they're saying there's heightened public concern. Again, about what? Because the only concern that people seem to have is whether the police and firearms licensing are correctly implementing the guidance and following procedure. We will get on to the rest of the survey, I promise. So let's bring that up. So I'm not going to go sort of word for word, but it then goes on to the precursor of the survey, and there's a few things. I mean, you can get really nitpicky with the wording here. Paul IPSC, boo, no Connors or Paul on the stream. I know, it's great, isn't it? It's great. Truth, truth junkie. That's basically prostitution. But I'm game. So, but thank you first of all.
What was that?
They want to see you, or somebody wants to pay a fiver to see you.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm saying that's pretty much prostitution. So, it's up to you. I don't know if you heard that, but
I'm joking.
joking. Well, no, you don't want to come.
No.
Just stick your head round quickly. She's
so comfy and relaxed.
Holly has been on the yeah, but now we got to make that YouTube money. We've got to pay for the house.
Can I see myself on the screen?
Yeah, you'll see yourself pop up there. There we go. Right. Do it.
Okay, £5, please. I'm
Someone's got.
I'm trying to get a good angle. I'm all rosy cheeked.
It's all right. Oh no, you can't overshadow me. There we go. It's my stream. Anyway, you asked and I gave. Nothing else. This isn't going to spiral into anything else. Like there will be no clothes taken off or acts performed for money. That's what the OnlyFans is for. I'll drop a link.
I'm joking. I'm going now.
So she's going. Or was that to did you not believe that I have a fiance? It doesn't exist. She's imaginary. It's just a pillow. M Gabriel. It's Holly IE. I have very particular about that. Makes it bloody impossible to buy named gifts because it's all with a Y. Truth. Well, thank you very much, a man of his word. Thank you, Truth Junkie. You've just earned the channel another £5. Callum, take off your hat. Okay. There we go. Took it off. Smarter than you think. They said you've got a keeper there. Yes, absolutely. I know. That's why.
Well, I've got a keeper in you, or you've got a keeper.
Yeah, you've got a keeper. That's definitely what he meant. Yes, I know I've got a keeper. That's why I put a ring on it. That's what was going. Hi, Mrs. English Shooting. Did you see? Yeah, you saw what I wrote on the post. Yes, Holly is the future Mrs. English Shooting. David Kiddle, it's his sister. No. Although we do look with, both brunette, although mine's more like black, but we have similar features. Not like that. Paul IPSC forehead reveal. I do a forehead reveal for a £5. I do most things for a £5 if I'm going to be honest. Truth Junkie, does she have a sister? Yes, unfortunately she's married. You missed that one. Buckshot, yes, I meant she's a keeper, Callum. No, that's not how I took it. It's on Discord now. What? Oh dear. Can you just leave me alone for one night? Oh dear. Cute. They've put a screenshot of us in the Discord in the shooting. Don't worry, it will be memed heavily.
Oh, that's such a disgusting photo.
Holly has asked if you could take another screenshot because she's not particularly happy with that one. But yeah, anyway, back onto this survey thing. Swiftly moving on. Wait, what's on Discord? Nothing, Arius. Nothing at all. So, firearms licensing in England and Wales. Thank you for taking the time to complete this survey on the licensing of firearms and shotguns in England and Wales. There has been heightened public concern following, heightened public concern for what? It's all well and good saying there's heightened public concern, but heightened public concern for what? The magic fairies? Jesus Christ. The Home Office is currently reviewing arrangements for licensings of guns and will shortly be introducing new statutory guidance to be followed by all police forces. This is a little bit of shenanigans, right? Because the way you would read this straight away is, right, the Home Office and the police, they're reacting to this shooting, they're working on it, they're going to bring in new changes, and brilliant. Like, how quick and concise of them. You mean this? This, where's it gone? Oh, it's because it's on my, I'm going to have to turn on Drive. Give me 2 secs. I had that all prepared and then I turned off Google Drive. So let me just get that back up again. All the best. That was such a dramatic reveal as well. And it fell flat on his face. Where the fuck is it? There it is. Let me just load up Google Drive. If the stream crashes, I apologise. Send your complaints to Google. There's just something funny that goes on with Google Drive. Like, it's much better than Dropbox, but it does like to have a paddy every now and then. Oh yes, and it's killed the stream. Fantastic. Let's pause syncing. I knew it. I knew as soon as I opened Google Drive, it would affect the stream. That's why I have it shut most of the time. Let me try and find figures, stats and info. And this is actually a really important point, so bear with me. Draft guidance. Here we go. Now it works. So thank you for bearing with me on that, and I won't shut down Drive just yet. So this is what they're talking about, right? So they're saying, they're giving the impression that they're on it like a car bonnet. They are, they're going to change everything in, out of the response to the Plymouth shooting. It's already here. I've already made videos on it, right? This has been around for a fairly long time. I don't know, is it dated? This is saying 16th of July. So it's, is there any... No, it just says 16th of July. So that could have been, July this year. But anyway, this existed well before the Plymouth shooting, right? And we've talked about this. They're bringing in more suitability checks and background checks. This is the whole thing that talks about social media and people's financial struggles and all of the previous things they may have done and all of the new criteria that the police can use to be able to stop you from owning a certificate. Now, a lot of this is already in the guidance. This is already part and parcel of what the police use to be able to assess suitability. But they're making it out like this is going to be this new revelation. They had no intention of doing this before, but because they're so good, they're doing it in the wake of Plymouth. So that's sort of like bullshittery number one. This survey has been created by the elected police and crime commissioners who represent the voice of the public in policing. PCCs want to understand the public's views to ensure that they are heard by the Home Office when considering possible revisions to the current rules and processes around licensing of weapons in England and Wales. Again, right? So what are they going to do? Are they going to lie to the public and say that this document that already existed before Plymouth is going to be them listening to the public? Are they really going to try and pull that one? Are they, oh yeah, we listened to you, yeah, and we created this whole new guidance that we'd already created prior to Plymouth, It's, anyway. This is where some of the inaccuracies come in. Please take time to read the following information before answering the questions which follow. Not all types of guns can be legally used in England and Wales. Some weapons, including most types of handguns, are banned for use in the UK. Not off to a good start there. Now, I know in general terms, and I do say it myself, that handguns are banned, right? They're not banned. All guns, all types of guns can be legally used in England and Wales, right? The first sentence there is completely false, right? And this is the issue with with not only asking the public for why has that gone down? For some reason that's gone down. Are we still there? I think we're still streaming. It's decided to switch don't worry, it's the other PCs. I'm just rambling. Don't worry. Anyway, so not only are they asking the public that overall are not going to have a very good idea of this to begin with, but then they're going to start by telling them that not all types of guns can be legally used in Wales. What about Section 5, right? Does that not exist? The plethora of Section 5 dealers that use handguns and use full-bore semi-automatic and fully auto rifles for their job, and not forgetting that there are sporting Section 5s. There are people that own handguns for sport in the UK, and irrespective of all of that, 7.1 and 7.3, right? So people do legally own handguns and go and use them completely legally. So again, this is not, if you're going to get the public involved, you have to be, I think there is a responsibility to be a hell of a lot clearer than just generalization. And yes, the generalization, which is for most general members of the public, if they wanted to own a handgun, they couldn't. If they wanted to own a semi-automatic full-bore rifle, they couldn't. But to go out there and say that they are banned, and coming from the police and not paraphrasing or generalizing, giving that as a statement of fact is completely wrong. To be able to legally possess and use a firearm or shotgun, a person requires a license or certificate which is issued by the police. There are some legal exemptions, police officers for exempt. Yeah, okay. I mean, this whole license or certificate, they're called certificates. An individual may wish to possess and use a weapon for a variety of reasons. Now, I know technically they are firearms, but they are referred repeatedly in law as weapon. A weapon is down to the use. If you're using it to shoot at paper, at clay targets, at steel, it is not a weapon that you are using. It is a firearm. Yes, you can argue if you're using it as a farmer for pest control, it becomes a weapon. You're killing something. Therefore, it is you're inflicting harm or damage on something. Therefore, what you are using is therefore a weapon. But yeah, again, the terminology, we can get our knickers and twist over that. It's not particularly good. This is going to become important based on the previous, on the questions that we're going to be going through in a second. Those applying for a license are charged an application renewal fee by their local police force. Currently, the fee is between £79 and £90 for an initial application. The fees are set nationally and have not changed since 2015. The fee does not fully cover the police's cost in administrating the certification process. That's going to be important in a minute. Applications must go through an assessment by the local police force, which is carried out in compliance with national standards and guidance. Plymouth, right? Which is carried out in compliance. Not always. They don't always get it right. Let's not forget what happened a few months ago, or a month ago. GPs, 3% refusals. They give about good reason and can be entrusted and not a danger to the public. They give some stats on the figures and this, that, and the other. And then we're on to the survey. The first page is just generalization, just who you are, and this is what the whole video was about yesterday, right? What I said was that if they were going to ask members of the public, they needed to be able to ascertain the validity of any answer, and by validity I mean how valid or how much the police or Home Office should take that answer into account based upon the experience and knowledge of that person within the firearms industry or community. And I said that they should at the very least ask a bunch of pre-leading questions to the survey to ascertain how valid of an opinion somebody may have, because if it's a general member of the public that has never seen a gun, held a gun, or even knows that they are legal, then you should probably discount their answers if you're going to use it to form new guidance or form new legislation. So let's see what pre-leading questions they put in here to ascertain somebody's experience and knowledge. So gender, ethnicity, which force do you live in. Are you or have you previously been a registered firearms license or shotgun certificate holder in England and Wales? Right? That could have been 50 years ago. That could have been 2 days ago. So even with in amongst FAC and SGC holders, there could be a huge disparity in how valid an opinion someone may have. If they have literally just got hold of their FAC or SGC, they're going to know. Well, in principle, they're going to know a lot less than somebody that has been in the community, in the industry for 20 odd years, right? That's just part and parcel. No attempt to be able to gauge that. Just are you or have you previously held a certificate? And then we go on to the next batch. Prior to reading the survey, were you aware of the application process and requirements that exist around owning a gun within England and Wales? Now, the thing is, there's no test to this. A lot of people, they like to just be, I think, maybe a little bit more curt with the truth. Oh yes, I'm pretty much an expert on the firearms licensing. There's nothing to ascertain that, right? It's just a yes, no, partially. There should be something to qualify this answer. Right, it's like, oh yes, I knew that there was an application process, therefore I'm going to tick yes. Right, give a bit of context here. Try and qualify their answer. Try and dig maybe a little bit more deeper on their level of understanding of the application process. Even like a 1 to 10 would have been better. What do you feel your understanding is of the application process? Yes. Do current processes make you feel assured that the effectiveness of firearms licensing regime, interesting word there, in England and Wales in keeping people safe, right? So this is about the processes in place. This is about the current guidance, the current procedures, right? And I'm going to give you a little spoiler here. Nowhere on this survey does it give any mention or question of whether people have faith in the police themselves and the firearms licensing departments themselves, right? It is all about the guidance. You can have all the faith in the world on the guidance. If it isn't being implemented correctly, it is fucking useless. So where on this survey, and you'll see in a minute, where on this survey does it give you the option to be able to say, I completely trust the current guidance and processes to keep us safe. I feel really assured. But what I don't feel assured about is the disparity between the interpretation between each firearms licensing department. I don't have faith that in certain areas of the country, the people in charge of giving out these certificates know their arse from their elbow when it comes to firearms guidance and laws. And there have been many different examples and situations of this, and examples and, what am I saying? There's been many examples of this. Not all of them I'm going to go into in depth online, but the head of Dorset Police firearms licensing recently was sacked due to, what I believe to be gross misconduct. And this happens quite. Well, it doesn't happen quite a lot, but there's the head of Hampshire firearms licensing he has directly told me, and this was like 4 years ago that I had this meeting, 4 years ago, and I know a hell of a lot more now about the firearms licensing process and the laws than I did back then. But even back then, he said that I had a better understanding and grasp of firearms law than he did. Now, of course, I took that as a compliment. Thank you very much. But also, when thinking about it, that scares the shit out of me, right? Sorry, there's no world or example where I should know. Certainly at that point, before I was properly full time in the industry, there's no justification for me knowing more about firearms law than the head of a firearms licensing department. So, yes, I personally feel that the guidance and current procedures and hoops we have to jump through assures me that it's effective. I believe the current certificate application process is effective. Do I feel the implementation of it is always effective? Absolutely not. Peter Lamb, great topic. We'll have to catch up on the non-live version as actually have to get fuel. London is a joke. Good luck. Be brave, my friend. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you later. So yeah, good luck on getting the fuel. Hope you get a full tank. So yeah, I personally feel fully assured. I think the guidance currently, the processes currently are good. You know, there are approximately 5. You know, basically this is where it gets a bit fearmongery. You know, does this scare you? Is this what you expected? Of course, yeah, about what I expected. I sort of know these figures off by heart. But it, you know, again, maybe this is a potential qualifying. You know, if you go up and say, yes, I am fully aware of the application process, and you go, no, that was far lower than I expected, or don't know, then it seems to sort of contradict it. Because if you're aware of this, you should probably be aware of that. As a member of the public, do you think a medical report should always be provided to the police as part of the process for issuing a firearms license or shotgun certificate? Yes. This is... again, there's a number of questions here. It's like, why are they asking this? They already do this. This is already part and parcel of getting your application. Like, what are they going to do? Stop? You know, or actually maybe they're going to use this to give the GPs the kick up the arse they need to actually do what they agreed to do many months ago. There's a whole video on this again on the channel about the politics of the GP forms. Go and watch that if you want to know more about this subject. Yeah, and it was all based on what Bill Harriman did from Basque, and it was absolutely fantastic. He really read the riot act to the GPs. Basically, they agreed to help the police in firearms licensing as much as they could, and then when it came down to it, they're like, yeah, Natham can't be fucked. So anyway, but yes, I personally believe if somebody has on their medical record that they are, you know, they have severe mental health issues, that should be taken into account when giving them a firearms license. Like, I just think that's common sense overall. Of course, it could lead to abuse. Of course, there's going to be people that, you know, have minor mental health issues that would never harm anybody, would never be a danger, and would be excluded. I get that completely. It is unfair, but having those medical records, being able to show that somebody is mentally unfit, I think is very important. As a member of the public, do you think a person's medical record should always indicate when they have been granted a firearms license or shotgun certificate? Yes, again, I believe this is part of the current system. I believe this is already how it is. It will be interesting to see from the inquiry of the Plymouth shooting whether somebody within the GP's office didn't do their job, because when the parents were calling out for mental health help and assistance with the shooter prior to the shooting, that should have just been red flagged straight away. You know, if they're contacting the NHS saying, my son has severe mental health issues, the first thing that they should have done is looked at the medical records, and there should have been a firearms marker, which then would have told them to phone the police. You know, and again, I just think that is all common sense overall. If somebody, you know, who has never had mental health issues but owns firearms suddenly starts having severe mental health issues, it's probably best that you take that away from them, you know, just maybe just for the short term. As a member of the public, do you think that GPs should inform the police if they become aware of changes to a firearms license or shotgun certificates holder's health, which means they may no longer be safe to hold a firearms license? Yes, again, we're just talking about that pretty much. As a member of the public, how do you feel about suggestions that the police could in future research a person's social media and other online activities as part of any assessments for issuing a firearms license or shotgun certificate? Now, you know, as you can see there, at the moment, my answer is I feel this information may be useful. I think actually this information would be incredibly useful, given that certainly the younger shooters and the younger people that are applying for shotgun and firearm certificates are have most of their lives on social media. You can go, I mean, like, I've had Facebook for like over 10 years. You can learn a lot about somebody scrolling through their social media. If it's open, you can really get a feel for a person, and I think that should be very much part of the assessment. What are they saying? What are they posting in what they believe is to be a private setting? Not what they're saying and doing when they're sat right in front of us, when they know that we're assessing them. What are they posting when they think nobody's watching? That's when you're going to get a true tell. And what a lot of people said is resource. Do they have the resource to be able to go and scour everybody's social media? And we talked about this with the Plymouth shooting. Just looking at that guy's social media, it was quite evident that the guy should not have had a firearm and or shotgun certificate, shouldn't have been in charge of a fucking potato peeler, never mind a firearm. And a lot of people were saying, yeah, but, would the police have the resource and the time to be actually go and find that social media, to be able to find it? I was able to find his YouTube channel and I think his Twitter, certainly his Facebook page, within about 5 minutes of learning his name, right? So if I can do that without all of the assistance and the technology and the powers and various departments that the police have access to, then I think they probably could have found that information even faster. Are you saying that the police can't spend an additional 5 to 10 minutes scouring somebody's social media as part of their application? I mean, they already take anywhere between sort of 3 to 12 months. I'm sure an extra 5 or 10 minutes of waiting isn't going to make too much of a difference. But yes, resource to really go extensively through it is going to be an issue. And this is where things start to, this is when the light bulbs come on. Because they're talking like this is now talking about resourcing, right? This is where it comes into it. And then bang, as a member of the public, do you think that all of the costs incurred by the police, all underlined, incurred by the police and by medical practitioners in processing a firearms license or shotgun certificate should be met by the applicant? Now, I'm not just saying this because obviously when applying in future, I would have to pay for it. But no, right? We don't ask for the certificates. I'm a supporter of it, but we don't ask for it. This is a mandatory implementation to be able to get our certificates, to be able to do the sport, to do the hobby, this, that, and the other. It is a public service at the end of the day. It is provided for the public that need these certificates to be able to go and either do their hobby or do their jobs. Do we charge the football stadiums for the multi-million pound costs that police incur in policing football stadiums? Right? Do they pay for anything? No, right? Because football supporters are members of the public. Shooters are tax-paying members of the public. It is a public service. I don't mind the, let's say, having some sort of, what is it? What we do at the moment, we go pay something towards it. I don't necessarily have a problem with that at all. I don't necessarily think it should be free. And actually, I don't necessarily mind doctors and so on and so forth, them charging full whack. I wish they would charge the police rather than us, but at the end of the day, but again, they have a duty to the public to be able to make sure that someone is correct, is safe and all that. So you could say, well, actually, it's part of their sort of civic and sort of public duty to be able to do that. So the police have the best idea of someone's suitability and character. But then on the flip side, HGV drivers, right? But then with HGV drivers, you don't get many hobbyists that go and get an HGV license. So it's for an income, right? And maybe that should be potentially where we can compromise on it. If you are just doing this for a hobby, perhaps it should be free. If you are doing this professionally, perhaps you should contribute more. Contribution, that's what the word I was looking for earlier. If you're doing this professionally, perhaps there should be a larger fee. Because you are going to make money out of that certificate. But I don't think the hobbyist should be. I don't think the hobbyist should be necessarily penalised by paying all of the cost. You know, they want to get into this hobby. The fact that they need a certificate to do that hobby shouldn't, you know, cost them an arm and a leg. You know, that they haven't asked for it. They want to just get on and do their sport. Someone has asked about putting the survey. I should have maybe done this a little earlier, but I'm just about to put the link in the chat. Just bear with me 2 secs. So here we go. Here is the survey link if you want to go and fill it out. But yeah, what a lot of people I've seen online already are saying is that, you know, they're talking about resources, they're talking about you know, the fees and all that. Are they in some way going to use this Plymouth shooting to put up the licensing fee? Right? Are they going to use a mass shooting to get more money in? Right? Just like let that one sink in for a second. You know, are they being opportunistic? You know, taking the opportunity of a mass shooting to use it as justification to put up the licensing. Are they going to start playing the narrative of, well, if shooters actually paid their way, we would have more money, we'd have more resources. Maybe if shooters paid more fees, Plymouth wouldn't have happened, right? Can I, like, again, sort of mark my words. I'm gonna go out on, you know, I'm gonna say it. I can see that being said at some point in the near future. You know, if people have paid more for their shotgun certificate applications, we could have stopped Plymouth. No, right? Because it's not like the police don't have the money. They still get the budget. You know, they still have the resource to be able to do it. And this is why some certificates take 12 months to be processed and some can do it in 3. It just depends on how much budget has been allocated. They shouldn't be rushing people's applications. Whilst it pains us, if it takes them 12 months to go through the entire process, it takes them 12 months to go through the entire process. It shouldn't be rushed. It shouldn't be jumped. Steps should not be skipped, which I think it's fairly evident they were skipped in the case of the Plymouth shooting. And this does just give me an uneasy feeling that they are in some way going to use this as an excuse to double, triple, or even pass on the full whack, right? Because if you think about it, how much time and potential money they could charge, right? There's the administration charges. That could be hundreds of pounds alone. The FEO having to come to your house. You know, what's a standard sort of call out charge? You know, 100, 200. There's another 200 quid. Though the time liaising with your GP, there's all, you know, requesting various background checks, talking to your references, you know, and even paying for the printer that prints the fucking paper for your certificates. You know, it's like it'd be interesting to see what the full cost is. Now, again, if they want to play this full cost card, well, their costs are very much going to be attributed to their own efficiencies. So, you know, Hampshire might look up and say, you know, well, it costs us £1,000 per applicant to be able to do it. But someone, you know, somewhere else who's uber efficient, I'm not saying that necessarily Hampshire is inefficient, but just as an example, one county is uber efficient and I'll just move Hampshire out of it. One county is really efficient and it costs them, you know, £100 to process an application. Another county is £1,000 because they're really inefficient, right? Are we going to start seeing a disparity in how much it costs to get an application, to process your application based on what county you're in? Is that the road we're going down? Some places are going to be, you know, it's going to be like GP surgery. Some people are going to charge £500 to sign off your GP form. Some is going to charge £2.50. And this is very much the issue that I feel is coming from this. And, you know, and again, how can they say, do you think that all of the costs incurred by the police and medical practitioners in processing a firearms license or shotgun certificate should be met by the applicant? I can't actually fully answer that without knowing what it actually costs, right? Because even some heartless, most, you know, on the anti-gun side of the public, if they looked up and said it costs £2,000 to process an application, do you think that should be passed on to the certificate holder? I think actually the vast majority of the public would look up and go, actually, no, because if I wanted to get into this, I wouldn't be able to afford that. So I know, I don't think necessarily they should be passing on like that. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the costs being 200 quid where we currently pay 80? Are we talking about the costs being 20,000? How can you actually answer this question without knowing what the true cost is? And I can probably tell you why they haven't put the true cost in, because they probably don't actually know. And as we were just previously talking, it most likely varies dramatically between county and county based on their efficiencies. And again, if a county and a firearms licensing department is inefficient, why should that cost be passed on to us? You wouldn't get that in private business. Well, you sort of do, but you know what I mean. But yeah, if you had concerns about somebody who you knew held a firearms license or shotgun certificate, would you pass on those concerns? Now, I've put yes. What again, what they mean by concern, what is the level, but I don't know. Everybody's bar here is going to be different in terms of what you feel would be necessary or you feel that you are obligated to report. And I think at the very least we can probably agree that there are most definitely going to be some circumstances that if like one of your best mates phones you up and says, look, I'm going to end it all. I'm going to blow my head off tonight. Right, I've had enough. I've lost my wife, I've lost my job, I've done that. I'm going to go and blow my head off. Now, first of all, I'd be jumping in the car, going straight round there, giving them a big old hug. But the next thing I'd be doing is getting the guns away from them. Yes, there's 1,000,001 other ways that they could kill themselves, but we're going to remove the guns. And this is something that I've said many times. We are self-policing in the UK. I have seen and heard firsthand of stories where people have taken their friends' guns away. They've ended up getting the police involved because they think something's bad is going to happen. And again, whatever your bar is on this, perhaps there's not a single thing you would ever report. It is a bit snitchy, a bit grassy, but there are just some things, theoretical scenarios that if they were to happen, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't do something personally and then the worst happened. Again, like, were there friends or acquaintances of the Plymouth shooter that they could see what was going to happen and they didn't take the opportunity to potentially report them? Again, with the likes of other the Cumbria shooter, Dunblane, Hungerford, there must have been people that knew that those people that shouldn't have guns and probably had the opportunity to report them. But again, where do you draw the line? That's up to you. But yes, there are circumstances that would most definitely do that. This is an interesting one, right? Sort of, how would you expect to report your concerns about a license holder? Obviously the police, not like the NHS, they have nothing to do with guns. The GP, again, apart from signing off, but they don't have the you phone your GP. Yeah, my mate's, he's gone mental, right? He's saying he's gonna kill everyone. What the GP's gonna do? Right? They're just gonna phone the police, right? The GP can't come round and take away the guns. Like, I think, like, I would contact the government. like, yeah, there's this guy, he's a right nut job, definitely shouldn't have guns. I'm gonna write a letter to Boris. Like, Jesus, I would contact the local council. My wheelie bin hasn't been emptied in months, but there's a real nut job next door with a gun as well. I think you should sort him out. Like, come on, is this really the level that we're at, right? And I would contact the police via 101 999. Like, of course, depending on the severity of it. 101, there's a guy, he's been sort of saying things not entirely comfortable, that he's a firearms owner and he's saying these things. To 999, he's outside my house naked with a pump action shotgun. Like, there's two severities there, and I think we should be using them in the right cases. But what's interesting, actually, maybe I should put other for this. Again, I literally had 5 minutes to whiz through this before the stream, so I may potentially change my answers going forward. I'll probably do a separate video on this, although basically I've done everything that I would want to have said in this live stream anyway. But the other would be contacting the firearms licensing department, right? The person responsible for that, for the person that you might have concerns of having a certificate, like they are the best people to contact. You know, like again, they're not necessarily going to be able to act immediately, but they can. So I'm a bit bemused really that isn't a tick box answer. You know, yeah, contact the police 101 or 999, but also I would contact the firearms licensing department. Maybe this whole thing is like they don't want to draw attention. Like I don't think during this whole survey they have mentioned firearms licensing departments, which again is very interesting, because I don't think necessarily the police want to be drawing attention, certainly to the firearms licensing department of Plymouth. You know, but anyway, that is the survey. Not particularly long, not particularly truth chunkily other. Call mum. Mum, there's a crazy guy with a gun outside. Oh, not again, dearie. But yeah, that's basically it. I really cannot see, certainly with the quite obviously wrong pre-statements to this survey, how the police think they're going to get anything of value from the public, right? And I very much think they are going to end up using the answers of this survey to increase fees, to bring in further restrictions, and to also hail the already drafted changes to the guidance as a massive, look at what we've done, look how we've reacted to the Plymouth shooting, look how amazing we are. And it's a lot of it's just going to be utter horseshit overall. £1,000 FAC and you can have the best handgun in the world, the Springfield X. Truth junkie, other, cool Holly. Yes. Don't worry. So she's in her little YouTube world at the moment. Other, cool manufacturer of gun. Yeah, so it's pretty much exactly what I expected it would be. I don't think it's going to give any value. And it's most likely going to be used against us. And again, what most people can see is the real issue there, which is the firearms licensing department. There's nothing about that, right? Like that's the real issue here. Like ask questions about that. Give me the opportunity to tell you to properly enforce firearms licensing departments to follow the guidance, to have some sort of like coherent understanding of the legislation and the guidance. And there's not even like is there anything else you think we should know box. It just seems a little bit half-assed overall. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. Callum, are you still going to talk about the Offensive Weapons Act? Yes, someone has to pay for Brexit. Yes, it will be the firearms owners, that's for sure. So yeah, the other topic in terms of the Offensive Weapons Bill or the Offensive Weapons Act, this isn't anything particularly new, but again, this sort of like follows on the back of this, although typical style. Unfortunately, it is a Daily Mail article, and unfortunately, the Daily Mail is utter shite. I just hate their website. Their website, it crashes all the time, and the adverts just get right on my tits. So it's this. So I did post this on the EnglishShooting Facebook page, and what I said, I think it was words to the effect, yes, it is the Mail, so you should take this article with a pinch of salt. But when the Daily Mail, a month after a mass shooting, is criticising the police and the Home Office for spending money on taking guns and knives off the street, something's wrong, right? To like how significant, like let that sink in. A month after a mass shooting, a mainstream newspaper has criticised the Home Office on bringing in further restrictions and taking guns out of certificate holders' hands, right? That's how messed up the Offensive Weapons Bill is overall. And this is again like maybe the Daily Mail are a fan, maybe they're watching right now, don't know, because pretty much everything that was put in this article I said months, if not years ago, when I first found out all this, all the figures, right? And all this is talking about is just the utter waste of money, and they've got experts there agreeing. Under the controversial arrangement, taxpayers' cash is given to anyone who held a weapon due to be banned by new laws which came into effect last month. Nice little screen grab of Pete Moore shooting the lever release there. So they've got firearms expert Philip Boyce said, "In my 35 years in firearms, I've never seen a lever release rifle used in crime. I have seen a few Mars rifles, but not many." Oh, interest. Okay. So I've said for a long time that neither the lever release or Mars were ever used in crime, but he's saying that he has actually seen Mars, but not many. Like few, two. How many were there? So like even if there was a few, even if there was 3 rifles used in crime, that's still only 2% of the legal ownership. It's minuscule. These guns are used for rabbit shooting mainly. Okay. I didn't pick up on that. Right? Right. I'm beginning to doubt that Mr. Philip Boyce is actually a firearms expert. Maybe he's the Daily Mail firearms expert. So he's saying that the 9mm 223 lever release and the 223 Mars rifle are used for rabbit shooting mainly. Yeah. Yet no. I'm sure there are a few people that did use a Mars or a 9mm lever release for rabbit shooting. I can't see the majority of doing that. The majority of them were used for target shooting, not rabbit shooting. So, okay, but yes. Anyway, there are a lot of lever releases handed in. I would be particularly interested in who handed all of these, as it seems to me like a producer. So another spin on this article is that actually the majority of the guns handed in were the manufacturers taking advantage of it, which probably does in some way explain the disparity between what they thought they were going to have handed in and what they did have handed in, because the manufacturers might just club together like another couple of hundred guns, but then at the end of the day they're taking away massive business from like this Southern Gun Company, so fair play to them. And it gives a big breakdown of it, of all the costs. And I don't know if necessarily I've done it this detailed before, so in terms of horror cash, like good old Daily Mail, just a little bit of scaremongering there. So this gives a breakdown of exactly what was paid for what. So you can see it. Knuckle dusters. I mean, that's working out at about £2 for a knuckle duster. I swear, I probably could have made them for like 50p and made a bit of profit there. Telescopic truncheons for that. Blowpipes. So you're getting, what's that, about 15 quid for a blowpipe. We did have the idea a while back of literally just going and getting a load of PVC piping and getting 15 quid a pop for them. Just turning up for the station with a load of PVC piping, going, yeah, they're blowpipes, mate. Give me my compensation. Baton, like what's a baton? When you're getting a tenner each for them, just what you're going to do, take a stick into the police station and get 10 quid for it. Flick knives, lever release rifles. So the average payout for a lever release rifle was around £2,800. Now, in terms of going rates, like I'm sure some people made some money on that. The Mars, there was some decent money on those as well. Yes and no, this isn't a giant advert for Rolex. And there's also former police officer Graham Wetone, who's earned on the Met for 30 years. It seems they have put this in place to ensure manufacturers and collectors did not sell them on the black market. I mean, that's a little bit insulting, right? Registered firearms dealers that are licensed to the teeth, right, that suddenly they're going to start breaking serious firearms law and sell these guns on the black market. That's a bit of a stretch. That's a bit of a jump. It is obviously a good thing that there are fewer weapons on the street, but were these weapons really a threat? No. Certainly not the Mars, certainly not the lever release. I mean, I would maybe ask why somebody has blowpipe, but I'm not really going to be too concerned if there's somebody with a collection of blowpipes living next to me. Knuckle dusters, or this, like, these things you don't really see used. And the sort of person that's going to go around with some knuckle dusters, are they really going to care that they're banned? Probably not. But yeah, you've got a police officer of 30 years there saying that actually these weren't a threat. I can't say I've ever seen any of these guns used in a crime, something that we already were well aware of. I'm left scratching my head as to why we have spent so much on this. It doesn't feel very well thought through. My thoughts exactly. And on the previous, conversation of increasing the licensing, increasing the the fees to recoup back some money. Well, if the police were so worried about wasting money and spending money, perhaps they shouldn't have spent so many millions on this offensive weapons bill confiscating guns that had never been used in crime. I don't know. That's just a suggestion out there. But yeah, that was the whole thing on the offensive weapons bill. It's nothing new. I just think it's very interesting that the likes of the Daily Mail are sort of siding with the firearms community, that they are, basically calling out what we've all been calling out for the last 2 or 3 years. Just very, very interesting on that. In more positive news, right? I've been talking for years. I meant to talk about this earlier, but obviously we've been chatting away. We've been talking for years about doing a meetup, right? And potentially should have done this. Oh no, I think we did mention this on the stream. Well, there is a chance to have some level of English shooting meetup, because as you all know, I work with Connors with Magload, and we are having an open day. So if you don't know, Magload has recently moved premises. We're based in Havant. You can find us on Google. The address is out there. It is a full-blown shop. It's not appointment only. Come down whenever you like, drop in. We're there pretty much. I think the opening hours on Google is like 10 to 5. Like, we can guarantee that there will be somebody there between 10 to 5, between 10 and 5. We are normally there earlier, we are normally there later, but or maybe it's 4, but between the hours it's in Google, there will be 100% somebody there. And we are having an open day, so sort of celebrate getting into the new unit, having a lot more space, and being able to actually properly show what we do and what capabilities as a company we have. We're running an open day, so if you want to come down, it's this Sunday from between 10 and 5. Come down. I'll put the let me grab the link. I'll put it in the stream chat as well. So it would be, if you are coming, I know it actually says, I put in there that you don't need to book or anything. You don't need to book, you can just come on down. But it would be really helpful if anybody that is planning on coming, you do say that you're coming on there, because we're going to go food shopping tomorrow. And if there's no other better reason than to come and meet myself, Connors, or Paul, or any of the other Magload team that you might want to come and hang out with and chat with or whatever, there's a free barbecue. So we're going food shopping tomorrow. There's going to be a free complimentary barbecue, so you can come down, grab a burger, hang out, chew the fat. Fuel dependent. But yeah, hopefully you can find the fuel. But that's the event page. You can go and RSVP or say that you're interested, or say that you're going, to be able to gauge the amount of burgers that I'm going to have to go out and buy tomorrow. But we want it to be like a really relaxed day overall. We so on the page as well, it's got all the location details. You can go and find that, or you can go and use that to find us quite easy. So Truth Junkie, yes, this Sunday, so Sunday October the 3rd, this coming Sunday, will be the open day. So come on down. We will be running a sale, So if you were thinking of picking up some Magload stuff, you might as well come down in person because you're going to save some money. I'll be there. Connors will be there. Paul will be there, as well as so in terms of what you can do there, obviously chat, hang out with us guys. You can obviously get hands-on with any of the Magload stuff. We'll be doing various demonstrations, so loading techniques, how to set up your belt, how to set up your gun, anything you want to know. We'll show you, we'll talk to you about it. We're having an airsoft still challenge set up, so it will be Smoke and Hope. And we'll be providing the guns, providing the BBs, so you'll be able to actually come down and shoot something. We're also talking, I don't know if it's confirmed yet or not, but we were talking to Blobworks, who has a VR. They actually made the VR Magload gun. But they may be there. Hopefully they do. They're able to come this Sunday. We're hoping to get some VR down there, and we've also got a number of other companies. So it's not just Magload that's going to be there. We're going to have Firing Solutions, which is one of Magload's dealers, but they sell the Chris Defiance, they sell Double Alpha stuff, obviously Magload stuff, and Tim is also a shit hot pistol revolver shooter. If you want to know anything about competitive revolver shooting or really handgun shooting in general, Tim's your man to talk to. We've got Caliber Innovations, so David that I saw was here at some point, maybe even here. So the crew from Caliber Innovations, with the again plethora of different guns that they make, they will be there. You'll be able to get hands on with them. We've got Marmaduke Creations, so the wonderful person that makes these beautiful, as you can see, it's like this one's a Damascus multi-layered knife. This is the EnglishShooting knife, but that was made by Marmaduke Creations. He will be there, so if you want to see some of his creations and knives, you'll be able to get hands on with all of that. We've got Otto as well from Cotswold Classic Arms. A lot of people message me through the channel asking how the hell do you get in contact with Otto. He can be a little bit hard to get hold of sometimes, doesn't always respond to emails. He's just a very busy guy, but Otto from Cotswold Classic Arms will be coming down, so he's going to have some battle arms there for you to look at. He's going to have some I believe he's going to be bringing one of the demo ZZs, the Zenith Antreg, or the Antreg Zenith, and he does stuff like the Strybog. I'm sure he'll have like some K22s, some Scorpions. Of course, with Caliber Innovations, they've got their straight pull 9mm, they've got the Siscar, the Double R's, the various moderators, and loads of other new guns. The new box fed sort of Vepr that they're bringing in. We've got iWholesale. So iWholesale is predominantly like airsoft and stuff, but they're going to have a selection of gear that I'm sure you're going to want to goggle at. I'm sure you're going to want to get hands on and play about with. And that is it for the moment. Confirmed. We I think Holly will be there at some point later on. So if you want to give her another fiver for turning up, that's more than fine for me. But she will, yeah, cash only. But yeah, Holly will be there. Like, again, do you need any more reason to come to the open day other than Holly will be there?
But I'm working until.
You're
I'll probably be there about 4.
So you're gonna turn that. So you'll be able to. You'll have your violin with you.
I'm not doing it.
Live music confirmed for the Magload Open Day. Will the stalls be cash? Absolutely. I mean, we will be taking, in terms of Magload, we will be taking cash and card. I think as default, everyone will be taking cash, and most people will also be taking taking card as well. There will definitely be card facilities there for the majority of them. Will she take a check? Yeah. Yeah, she's not fussy.
Don't fill in the value, and I'll...
Yeah, leave it blank. Yes, we don't unfortunately have a range on site. That's why we're only able to do the BB and the airsoft stuff. But there will be guns there. There will be shotguns and rifles. I mean, just in Connor's collection, there's enough guns to woggle out. He's got the battle arms, the mag-loaded battle arms. He's got his Ruger, the OG Ruger that sort of started mag-load. That's an interesting one that I'm sure we'll be able to talk about. His Supernova, which is all pimped out mag-load, of course, and he'll be able to have his Chiappa Rhino. We might be able to get a few others from from various sources of like mag-load guns. But Cotswold Classic Arms is going to come down with a load of guns. Caliber Innovation is going to come down with a load of guns, and iWholesale is going to have a load of various action airsoft guns. Paul will be there as well. I heard Callum is giving happy 5 minutes for a fiver on the day. Something about buying a house. Yep. Times are hard, right? I will take cash or petrol. But I'm happy to give anybody a happy 5 minutes for a fiver. Maybe even less. If you go, I'll do 10 minutes for £7.50. No less. But yes. So come down. We want it to be a really casual thing. Just turn up, grab a burger, grab a drink, hang out, chat, buy stuff, please. House. He is a cheap ride, absolutely. I mean, I prefer to go for quantity rather than quality, if I'm going to be completely honest. But yeah, so it'll be great to see a lot of you guys down there, put some faces to names, and to see other names that I've already put faces to in the past. But everyone's welcome. It's we're based in Havant, so it's on the south coast. Just basically, it's on the junction of the A3 to the M27. We are literally at the bottom of the A3. If you carry on all the way down the A3, you end up into our industrial estate. So literally right at the bottom of the A3, about 10 minutes east, 10 minutes east of Portsmouth. So it's really easy to get to when you've got petrol. Come down the A3 or come down the M3 and then across the M27, or come across the A27 if you're coming from the likes of Brighton and all that. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. It's meant to be a celebration of commemorating the new place. Like some people have said, a grand opening. I wouldn't necessarily call it a grand opening because we have much bigger plans for that space. But we just wanted to have a little hangout. We haven't yet had the opportunity to have a space where customers and supporters of what we do can just come and hang out for the day. So it's sort of a big thank you to you guys. So make sure you turn up because we want to have an enjoyable day for everyone. You mean his high price VW? Be careful. Porsche actually owns VW, if you didn't know. Porsche's King VW, right? You don't get it's the king. If you're a classy bird, Callum, you do everything for chips. No, petrol. Chiappa Rhino. Chiappa. I'm just gonna say it. Like so many people get raged when I say Chiappa. Chiappa. Adam, I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for joining. A bit north of Heathrow, right? No, it's very much south of Heathrow. Shall I? I'll bring it up. I'll show you guys where we are. Maps. Oh, I'm not going to dox myself again. Of course, this is my personal Google, so it likes showing exactly where my house is. I'm going to have to try and not do that. Don't do it to me, Google. Don't do it to me. Right, so here we go. I think there's nothing doxing shown on there. So transition. So obviously London. I hope you all know where London is. And then this little road here is the A3. Come on. And if you follow the A3 all the way to the bottom, you get to the A27, which goes on to the M27. And right at the bottom is Havant. So you can see literally you come down the A3, you come off here, keep following here, haven't you go over the haven't bypass, and then down this. This is the way you want to enter our estate, because we call it the Wibbly Wobbly Road. I don't know if it's going to show on here. Can you make out how bumpy this thing is? And I don't mean bumpy as in just like potholes and stuff like that. It's wavy. Like, you actually get air over some of these humps. You can't really see it, but anyway.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah, Holly says it's fun. It's like a roller coaster. That's why you should definitely come in this way. But yeah, you come off of the A3, come down here, go right at the roundabout, and we are here. So in reference, so that's where we are there. It's the Langstone Technology Park. In reference to everything else, that's where we are. We're right on the south coast, right at the bottom of the A3. And I don't know, can I? Oh, it does. There we go. Obviously, it's not Pro Tool, but we are number 7. This is what you're looking for. This is now the Maglode, the Maglode building, and we yesterday put out a new sign, so you won't miss it. It's huge. It's much bigger than everybody else's, by design. You won't be able to miss it. If you're on this road here, you won't be able to miss the Maglode sign, I promise. So yeah, really easy to get to. So fair industrial estate, and there's loads of places nearby. If you're not satisfied with the burgers and hot dogs and various other accoutrements that we are providing for the day, we've got KFC, McDonald's, Burger King, Domino's, Wetherspoons, Tesco, M&S Food. You can understand why we chose this estate, right? And yes, you can get Uber Eats, you can get Deliveroo, and you can get Just Eat delivered. And yes, we have tried all of those. I mean, we just had to. You're a 3-hour drive, just looked. I mean, what's 3 hours to come and hang out with us? But yes, it's Google Maps find a beaver industrial estate in Southall. Yes, the estate that we're on is called Beaver Industrial Estate. We have already laughed about this many times. Our plan is to eventually take over the industrial estate, and instead of having the buildings numbered, we're going to have building shaved, we're going to have building Brazilian, we're going to have building landing strip. You can sort of get where we're going with that. But yes, we are on Beaver Industrial Estate. Laugh at that how you will. Soon to be called the Maglode Industrial Estate. That is the plan down the line. But yeah, anyway, we're on Google. If you put Maglode into Google Maps now, it will find us. You'll be able to get to us really easily. But I really hope all of you guys are able to make it down, and as many of you can. Again, if you wouldn't mind, I'll put the link in again for you to go and say if you're coming or not. Really appreciate as many of you saying you're going to come if you want to. Like, I don't want to force you, but there's free food, there's free drinks, there's discounts, and there's going to be a load of guns there. Like, why wouldn't you want to go and hang out there for the day? But yeah, I'm gonna that's the events page. I think that is everything for this evening that I wanted to cover, and yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up there. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the stream as always. Before you all go, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. We do this every single Thursday at 7:30, and just in case you forgot, the English Shooting website, EnglishShooting.org, says it right there. You can click and follow us straight away. This website created for a couple of reasons. One, a quick, concise pickings of the various videos that you can watch to get your firearm certificate if you want to see it, and also if you want to support the channel and get some cool swag, you can go on there and buy some cool swag, including Connor's face. Highly recommend. Definitely makes you shoot faster. So EnglishShooting.org if you're interested in any of that. But again, a big thank you everyone for joining me for the stream. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you found it all interesting. We'll be doing it, of course, same place, same time, 7:30 p.m. next week. And as always, hope to see you soon.